Yeah, hello everyone to the first live stream of Pragmatic Rust for engineers. So we did a test stream before, but yeah, there we just installed the development environment. As you can see here, there were these containers for Postgres database. And yeah, today we want to continue from there on. So we want to implement some database operation with the create diesel, which is an object mapping system of like a library for it. And we will work with a command line interface library clap. And yeah, let's see how far we get. I think we can get like to the third point, but maybe not finish like the fourth point. But let's see. Anyway, welcome everyone. So for the installation, what you can do, like check out GitHub. There's a repository, it's also linked in the description. Let me shortly get this up here. And well, here you see some Docker files. So as a README told you, like if you not did it yet, you should go through the installation if you want to follow along, but it's absolutely fine if you just want to chill and observe and maybe chat a bit and install all this here. So that frees you from like doing the installation of the Postgres database server on your own system and have it in some isolation. And that's what actually the first test stream was about. Okay, so maybe next step. If you're new to Docker containers, what I can tell you is you have several options. If you're on Windows, you probably want to open dev container in a volume. Let's see. There it is. You can do clone repository in named container volume. There it is. And then you can select GitHub and select the container volume. Like it's the RSB, that's me. Actually I'm a Star Wars fan, as you can imagine. And then it is diesel stream starter. So you can just click it here and it will open up everything in Visual Studio Code if you have installed that. And well, I already did it and it will take probably 5 minutes or something in this region to get it installed on your system. And before we start, maybe we can try a small poll. I think it's not like too many people are there yet, but anyways, I prepared it, so we will do it. So this is a poll run by so-called Mentimeter. So feel also free to use the chat. I have to switch the screen, so as you can see, you can either scan the QR code, or you can type in mentimeter.com. So maybe I can give you the information in the chat. It's menti.com and the code is 87001845. So here you go. And in the meantime, when you logged in, I just have to set something up here so we can see what is happening in the chat too. Hehe. Okay, I will start the chat now as a poll now. So first question is, where are you from? I'm not 100% sure about the delay though. So we have participants from Europe and UK, very nice. So maybe I will switch into this. And yeah, it's very good. So let's go to the next question. I think you can still join it later on. So if you not did it yet, maybe just follow on. So I'm interested into the backgrounds because like we do content for like two different chemical engineers are in the upper hand, but we also have software engineers here. Like I would say it's even because I identify as software engineer too. So very nice. I like that. And next slide. So what describes your Rust level best? Okay. Very mixed. That's very cool. Well, I would add another option here, like in between intermediate and expert, but let's see. I hope to get also nice feedback. If you have something to say regarding Rust, I'm open to it. And I'm happy to help people to see new ways. All right. Last but not least, that's something I always did with the students at TU Dortmund University. And in the end, like there was one response very, very powerful at that time. There was like approximately 2.5 years ago. I will tell you afterwards. Fun is great. I love this. Yes, fun and learning. I think these two go hand in hand. Okay. All right. I will put one. Ah, there it is. Rust. Okay. So that was fun already. And let us now go to the actual part. We want to, I'm not sure if you want to follow along. There's this GitHub repository. There's just some preparation. Like we have a hello world file here. So if I type in cargo run, which starts everything, we get the hello world out. And what we want to do now is we want to use Diesel and the database and get a connection up and running. And for this, the first thing you do is you use the container for the databases. I'm a bit confused at the moment. The Docker Compose, I found it. You can right-click it when you use Visual Studio Code and do Compose up. Otherwise, what should also work is writing as a command line Docker Compose up. And now we have like a small system running. And with this system, we are able to connect to the database. I think it's running here. Like there's an admin front end. And well, this is not very secure, but let me shortly show you here. It's admin@admin.com and don't recall the password. And that's why it's not so secure, because we have it just here. So admin123. And here you have a admin front end that is useful to I think it's admin123 again, to connect with the database. You see, I already have some databases here. We will get rid of them later, but that's something we will use to check that the database is running. So if the server is not here, you can register a server, and what you actually have to do is like give the host name in the connection parameter. Here you can also give the password. It seems like this time it was some kind of auto discovery on my end. Okay. So with this set up, we can start to, for example, what's nice about Rust is you can just go for Gargo documentation, and it will now create a documentation for you. And we can then view the documentation in this tool too. I will just try to arrange it in a way that it's seeable. Now what we can do in the main, first things first, we have another information that is the command line options. Like you have this environment file here, where that contains a so-called connection string with database URL, and that is needed by the Diesel command line. So we have a command line here which is called Diesel. Let's maximize this shortly, and in this command line you can do different things. I think at your end you have to go for Diesel setup, and then you get a migrations folder. I think I did it in the wrong folder though, but it should work nonetheless. Let's see. So with these migrations we can adapt the database from version to version, and so you can see in this app file, this is automatically generated, that it makes all databases. Okay. So this is like an initial setup, and now we can use Diesel here to actually first load the environment. So that is .env. It's a package for the environment. There you can say from file name, and it's just .env. I think there's a dot missing. Yes. So that helps us to get the environment variable in, that is defined in the file name. And then we can use.env to sync access a variable, which is in our case database URL. And yeah, maybe if you're a beginner, you wondered about this question mark. That means if there's an error, just return, because we can pop up an error here. So and last but not least, we can now use the object PGConnection and the function establish to get the database running. So here we have the one parameter is the database URL. Again, this warning is about there's a result behind this and you have to handle the result. Maybe shortly for people beginning, what you normally can do in Rust if you don't want to bowls it up, yeah, like you can have this match arms. And what actually happens with the question mark is something like return error here, just bubbling up the error. And in the other case, you continue and you just you can spare this, let's say, boilerplate code with a question mark operator. Let's say connection established. If that works out, we get rid of the hello world. And now another cargo run call. I did something wrong. Yeah, we used the box type here, so we need a box new here. Box allows you to have like any type, because in Rust if you have you sometimes need these wrapper types, and in this case it helps us to use any type and free Rust from knowing the size of the error in memory terms. Okay, so we did it. We established a connection. I will now switch branches. So I creating a branch live stream, let's say 24/7/72 live stream. So I check out into this branch. And so we're now on the branch. If you want to work with Git with a command line, without the command line free feel, but we can now just say here, okay, we add a feature that is establishing a Postgres connection. Yay. So here we go. What do you want? I wanted to commit. And first things first, so I have now this branch prepared. I will just publish the branch after the live stream. Let's see how far we get. But what is important, if I'm not sure, is some of you, maybe you can tell me if some of you are following along in the chat. I see some people are chatting there already. And if you get stuck, I added like a solution branch already, which has like some of the things we will handle today in it. And what you can do is like, you can just use this branch if you get stuck and check. For example, we will, we establish a connection. Next thing is we will do the first migration, which means we get a molecules database up. And yeah, so you can just click here, for example, and then check the code. You can also download it. I think it's this special revision, or well, revision is a good word. Okay, so we now will start with the first migration, and for this we will again use the diesel command line. We use diesel migration generate, and Now we have to think about a name. Let's say create molecules database. No, table. You have to be precise in naming. And what it's now doing is like it's creating two SQL files. One is called up, one is called down. And we now create a table here called molecules. And I actually have to check myself now. Give me some hints. No, this one is interesting. So it's just for syntax reason at the beginning. Like we have a quite long table here. I will just get the beginning out here and then show you another file which is interesting, which is our molecules CVS file. And that's something we can now use. So we have a name, for example, which is just a text. And we also have a formula, which is just a text. And then you can continue this. But what I want to show you now is how this idea works in computer science with migrations. What you want to do is like you want to return. You want to roll back, right? If you hear about this thing happening some days ago with the Microsoft servers all crashed because of a company I won't name now. Like they couldn't roll back and this crash slipped them. And what you want to do, especially in web, is like to be able to just roll back to an old version. That's what down is for. So we will go drop table molecules here, and that's all we do. And now with the diesel command line, we can say migration. What is this? No, I don't want to install anything. Diesel migration run. And now it says I have errors in my SQL. Relation molecules already exist, so that shouldn't happen on your side. But we will, for this now, use this admin front end. So it's thermodb. So the name should be thermodb. Then we have here schemas, and then there are tables. And here you see there is a molecule table, and that's why it's complaining. We can just use this front end to delete it, and now we shouldn't get an error from the run. So we try it again, and yeah, it says running, everything seems fine. And here in this admin front end, you have to right-click and refresh very often. And now you can see, okay, there's a molecules table, and we have some columns. Molecular ID, name, formula. Very like what we did here. And now you can just see like diesel migration. I have to call the help though. Revert it is. So diesel migration revert. And now the table should be gone, if we refresh at least. And that's actually all the magic here about the migrations. So you run out database changes with them. I will be a bit lazy now. I will just copy the rest here. And what you now can see, we have a very similar structure like this one in the CSV file. So what we can do now is diesel migration run to check that everything is fine. Looks good. Now we are set up with the first migration. I will just commit it. Feed, create molecules table. Okay. Very nice. Oh, I also see there's a question in the chat. Yeah, so I think it will be longer than 1 hour, like probably let's say I was planning to go between 2 and 3 hours because yeah, then I enjoy, for example, there's another live stream who goes long from John Grensert, and I think this man has the same challenge that I do. Like sometimes there will be days where I can do it, and yeah, it's easier to then go for a long run. But you can follow up on the recordings, and if you have more questions in between, just feel free to reach out with a YouTube commands or something. Okay. So now we have the molecules database set up. I will take a seat now. And now the fun part begins. So we want to write a crude application. That means create, read, update, delete. And actually we will do imports because otherwise with a command line is a bit much work. That's why you have all those resource files here to get them in SQL database. And yeah, so let's sort this a bit. Control B hides the left part, so we have a bit more to see. And okay, so next thing is, I think it's already in our cargo terminal. We have diesel here. So that was for establishing the connection. We have .env here. But what we want to have in this cargo terminal, it's in the folder thermo properties. We want to have a clap with a feature derive. So you can just write a command line option like this. And then we get a dependency added. That is. And this dependency we will use to get our command line up and running. So what we can now do is we create a data structure, now call it CLI args or something like that. And we work with so-called derived macros, which allow us to, let's give me to give the struct special abilities. And what we need here is the parser of clap first. And then we go for an enum. We call this subcommands in our command line. And now, for now, we just go for create, import, read, update, delete. Let's say delete all, because that's more helpful in our case. And here we need a derive macro for the subcommand from clap. And yeah, you don't need to know this by heart. If you remember, we just used cargo doc to compile this. I think I have to reuse it because clap is a new dependency. And what we can now do here is maybe reopen it because I already selected something there. Rust, open doc viewer. So we can just go to the create clap here, and then here are some explanations how to set things up. That's what we already did, and yeah, that's a nice thing about the Rust ecosystem. You have a lot of good documentation with examples, and the cool part is, like, when you have a build pipeline, these examples are compiled, like it's called build doc tests. So you have really in the documentation examples that are checked with a compiler. That leads to a very good quality here. And that was what I'm using for, what I was searching. We have this line here. In our case, it becomes CLI args pause. And let's call this arguments. Now we can just extend this a bit. So we have a subcommand here. Oh yeah, need to implement the derived trait debug and clone. So yeah, that's a nice part about error messages. So let me recall, I think we need to derive subcommand here or something. I think it well, I did it just yesterday, but I forgot. Let's check. Yeah, this is missing here. So you learn kind of a domain-specific language here. Now we're good. So now we can use this here to have a match arm. We will just say match args subcommand, and here we'll get all our possibilities. And in the phase of create, we will now use another function, command create, and we will just give it a, let's say, my molecule is a name. What is a nice formula? Like I want just to make things up, ACDC. And so we will now implement this function. But first things first, like what we now have is like a like framework for this. So we can have command create, we give it a name, which is a string, and a symbol or formula, which is also a string. And let's just give it a boilerplate here. So we can just say, okay, name equals, and symbol equals. And now we're ready here. So println, and we should be able to cargo run this. And then we will see something, a warning first, but we get a help message. That's all generated by this nice library called Clap. I really like it to do prototyping, integration testing, and stuff like that. Maybe we can, yeah, we will use the run task soon. So that's a nice thing about this here. We can have prepared tasks, like just cargo run as a task. So I press F1, run task, and I just select was cargo run, and then the same happens, sure, but we don't have an argument here. And if we go to the next task, there's one, it's called create, I hope so. CLI create a default resource. You can see then it is called. From now on we will just watch what happens on the right side. That's a bit easier. Okay. So that's helps you just to check things out quite fast. What we now need to do is like we need to find our schema file. So now maybe things bite back. Yeah, actually, I decided to do something different. Like we were running diesel in the upper folder. I will now just move it all down here. Sorry for the inconvenience. Because here we got this source now, schema, rs. That was what I was searching for. And it's in the wrong folder. I think it should be okay this way. So what schema does is, Rust is working a lot with code generation. So these very strong libraries, they generate code for you. And this does just the mapping with the database. So we also need to include it here as a module to compile it. I'll go first now. Cargo run. Restart server. Okay. I think because of the movement something got wrong with the Rust analyzer. Now it looks better. So you can it rarely happens to me like. But this restarted all the analyzing. So now we have the schema here. And what we will do now is like we will have a file for models because we want to match our database here. And we will just have a public structure called molecules. And here we will go to use derive traits for diesel. We can look them up in the diesel crate. So I want to figure out how to move up in this viewer. Anyway, otherwise I can always close it and use that view again. And then we should have diesel here. And diesel derives is really interesting in the case that we will find all the information about what we can do here, like what is insertable, what is table name and so on, or selectable. And that's what we will do now. We will first of all get models included in our main file because that's important for the analyzer to realize, okay, here's actually code. So maybe first use diesel prelude. Prelude is often a package name for like important stuff. And now we want to have insertable, right? Was the name? Let's see how's the complete name. Diesel derives insertable. I think this should work. Unowned files. It seems a bit like a problem with the ownerships here. So I'm confused now. Is this a Linux thing with the ownership or is it still Rust related? Now it was just a timing thing. So the Rust analyzer wasn't ready yet. So you can now like read the comments here, for example, with just hovering, and we see we also can give a table name here. So, but I think we should be fine. So what is now the problem? So we always have a primary ID, and I want to see now what is the problem. Cargo build. One warning, one error. Insertable, not an attribute. Ah, I'm missing derive here. That's the thing. Okay. And now we get a bit more information. So now we need the diesel table name. We saw it here in the documents. Diesel table name is something. It should be just molecules, right? Okay. Now we have to map this shortly. So we have a name, which is a string. We have a formula, which is a string. I have to figure out what's the problem with the ID. Cannot find type ID and so we can check our JMA, and I didn't call it ID, I called it molecule ID. So this will do all the wiring, and if you work with this database, like what is happening in between is really a connection to another computer, right? And we will now just do a complete mapping, but you're free to also do like a data structure that has only parts of it. That's where all the magic comes in. Like for every query you could do your own data structure, or for every insert that's very specialized, but that's not what we will do here. Okay, so I will use some help here. We have density next, which is optional, and we use F42 for this. So now, so we have a lot of parameters. Just getting this fast in. Melting point, boiling point, critical temperature and critical pressure. And as you can see, I actually missed one. Okay. So building is working also. I get here some error messages. Now they're gone. This was just actualization. Maybe we can also get rid of the warning, because it's just confusing when seeing the outputs. So, and now with this model, what we will do, we will just implement a default constructor. Call this method new with mutation or mutator. I like this to be able to just mutate some stuff. Actually, we can use an own string here because we will own it afterwards. And here we will just use a mutator, which is some kind of function. So we now use a generic argument f, and we return an object of type self. And so for this we now will use some magic in Rust, because we can also derive, for example, let's derive the standard. Like what I often derive is debug, clone, and default. And as you can see, that's working without any problems. So what we can do now is we generate a new data structure with a name, with a formula, and then we say the rest should be default values. And here we go. That's quite nice. And then we need to return this later on. But what I want to do too is like have the possibility to mutate it from the caller side. Somehow I'm a fan of this syntax. Now for this to work, we will say where f is a function of type having a reference to mood self. Oh, and I think this needs to go before the were. Or maybe not. Remove the parentheses. Okay. Why should I need a lifetime? Okay. So, I need a lifetime here. So that's just me not remembering the syntax correctly. Maybe we can also use the full name. Could be. Why is this name molecules? It should be molecule. Oh, that's just... Okay, I have to Google this one. Cannot recall. FN trait. It's just a tuple of args. I think it also says this. Like, then we need the parentheses. We're missing the return type. Is that the case? F is FN use size. Oh, let's spot the difference. It's not using this parenthesis. There's a problem. Okay, never mind. That's looking good. So we need a mute reference here. And we need this variable to be mutable, because in Rust you always have to tell if you change a variable later. This helps with optimization and so on. So now we have this function and we have this insertable here. And that's all we need to finish our command here, command create. Here we will now just let record be a molecule, new, so we called it new, I think. Probably I forgot the public. Yes, I forgot the public. new with mutator, then we can just actually it's better to so we can now use a mutator to do anything we like. For example, we say boiling point is some, let's say, 42. To owned is more precise in this case. And we need a so-called floating point number here. So now we have this record. Let's check. I think it was on the diesel. We are insertable, right? Yep. So we just use this insertable. I'm looking for an example. So here we have the insertable user, and that's what we now do. We just use insert into. And as you can see, we also lack the connection argument. So we need a mutable reference to PG connection. And with this, we can now call insert into and so we also need to use a schema here. So we insert into, in the end, schema molecules. I'm not sure if that's already, no. It's probably DSL molecules. Then values and execute. Let's say unwrap. Okay, we insert only the record. So what is here? Execute, not found. That's a bit confusing. Ah yeah, I think I know what we miss. Because this molecule ID, we need to diesel skip insert here, because the ID is given by the database when you insert it. But if you read it, it's not given by the database. So probably something like diesel skip insert. That's not working with the loading research. Okay, let's ask Google for the exact name.
Playing from RG Dev PC 02.
Oops. So think it was something with skip. This is quite old, so yeah. Often you just know what to do, but you need some time to figure out what is the exact name. Good thing is I can go back to this stuff here. Skip insertion. Ah, nearly. What did I wrong? Ah, hashtag is missing. Maybe this was always. Okay. Does that help now? No method name execute found. Okay, what is the method then? It is execute. Yeah, somehow I have the feeling that it should work now. Let's see with cargo build. Oh yeah, we did forgot to adapt it here, so we now have to give it a connection. Where's the connection, by the way? It says connection established, but we don't store it yet. Not 100% sure if this will work though. Because here we say this is con and we want to just store the connection. Yeah, it works. Okay. Because otherwise we could just go back to use this syntax here with the question mark. Oh, it's not yet. Yeah. And we need a mutable connection. Okay. So now we should be able to create a default resource. So it just gives the same println, but inside here we have the insert statement, and this should finally, where did I have the admin? Here. If we refresh this, go to the molecules database, we can now just right click on molecules database, view edit, see all rows, and yeah, there's one. The thing is, we will get a lot if we just rerun it again. We have no way to delete it. So maybe just shortly we get the delete all running now too. And for this we need to use schema, molecules, and DSL molecule, I guess. And the method delete. And probably execute. Yeah, we don't want to have a return type here. What does it return? Yeah, so we can just use a semicolon, and with the help of the semicolon we don't return without semicolon, you return the value of this. And now we can just say, actually if you do it in the command line, you can say cargo run, then double dash delete minus all, and good, we don't have an output here now. Well, we can nonetheless check now what's happening here. It's empty. Okay. So we have a lot of changes here because we added create some molecule, and we also had delete all, and we had some refactor, restructure, diesel migrations, and schema. Okay. So far so good. All right. So the next step will be we will working on the import, and that's just showing how nice data serialization works in Rust. We can why is it so big now? Half sounds good. We can just use another crate. It's called Zerde or CSV and Zerde to read in these CSV files. And in this case, because we just we have a one-to-one mapping of everything what we have in the database, so we can just use the molecule to insert it. And that's what we will do next. So first of all, we cargo add CSV. Then we will cargo add Zerde with the feature derive. That just updated our TOML file here. And now we can just use this library by having a deserialize here. This is given by Zerde. And also in this case we want to skip probably a Zerde skip, right? I think this we will figure out a bit faster. That is skip serializing. No, we want to deserialize. It's just a skip, so I had it correctly in my mind. Okay. Now we will write a function command import. Let's have a path here. And beside the path, we don't need anything at the moment. The connection later on. and that was deserializer, read from file. Do I recall correctly? Probably should find it in the docs too. Let's try to not use the I want to use a deserializer. So it was something like deserialize from a file or from. So what we actually need to do is, first of all, we need a path buffer to open a file. So file open path. So here we again can have errors. That's why we need to return some result. Yep, this one is missing. Oh. I'm a bit wondering because I thought here on the first page I cannot, like, this is an isolated container, so I really have to go to here to open something. Oh, but it looks the same. No, but here's an example. Did I just miss it? See, deserialize from string. So we have the molecule, deserialize. What is the problem here? Okay. I cannot. What was the name? Okay. So I just saw some message in the chat. I'm not 100% sure how long they are there. So the keyboard is just a Logitech 1. And yeah, the PC has a Intel. It's a quite old Intel though, I think 10th generation or something. And there's a good graphic card in. You need those. So, hope to answer the question. And now, hopefully I will figure something out here. So, maybe we just go for the CSV package for an example. That's the thing, I probably saw the example in the CSV package. It's the reader, okay. So here we go. I was just checking the wrong documentation. Which makes sense, like on the grounds this is using here IO stood in, but we can also use it with a file, I guess. So it was cold. CSV reader. Now from reader. Let's see, can I use a file there? No, doesn't look like that. Oh, it's okay. So now we have a way to go over all records. And each record is we can just print it out now shortly. For record in reader.records. Punkt, by the way, is the same, is the German word for doc. And now we can just print it. Maybe because we use the do we have prettypend? No, we don't have prettypend. So we will just use a record unwrap here. Oh yeah, at the end we need to return an OK. So parses resources molecules.csv. And again, we need a semicolon here. So what does this into do? Like, it is a very convenient way to transform types in Rust, because you have into for a lot of types. In this case, a string can be converted into a pass buff, and so you can just call into. We will do something like an implementation of something similar later. But now let us just check what happens if you call import. And we get a file not found. Why is this the case? Did I do a typo here? No. Looks good for me though. Ah, I'm calling from the command line and we are in the wrong folder, so we have to call from here. Yeah, that looks good. And the nice thing here with the import now, how we worked, like, we really need to design our data, so that's a bit of work, but you have to do it anyway. But now to get this inserted into our diesel, we can just use diesel insert into, and give me a sec. I want to have a bit easier naming here. So that's here. Where was the other part? That looks good. Okay. MolDSL molecules. We can now just use okay, we have string records here. We cannot use string records. We need there's the example we said. Reader deserialize. Okay. Can do it. This is an iterator, you see? With reader deserialize, we get an iterator. So what we now can do is we can use a function like mapped or something, or even collect at the end. And then we say records are a vector of molecules. Okay, this does not work. Yeah, we maybe shortly. I'm very fast here. What you see here is like, okay, we want a vector of molecule, but we get a result of something, and there may be an error. So what we need to do is use a map function, and we can just use a result here and expect it. Not error. So what it's doing now is like can you format this a bit? Feel a bit like I think it's execute. Here we have to give the connection. Okay. Okay, what happens here? We deserialize. If there's result has an error, like expect, just panics in the case. This is quite what you want to do. Maybe is like pop up the error and gives a real error code. Anyway, I want to import now, and so I try a new cargo run import, and finally we should have it in our molecules database. View edit all rows, and that looks good, right? So and as you can see, like the molecule IDs, it's like an internal value, like it just counts up normally. It's just a unique identifier and it's counting up all the time. Good. So we did the import. Import from CSV. So, so more questions. I have some experiences in web development, but like working professional in web development for me is like a long time ago. Like it was, it was around, let's see, the chat is not showing. Like the question was, do I know web dev? I'm pretty like a downer. So like 2006, I think I worked with PHP in e-commerce, but in between sometimes on the weekend, like small projects. And yeah, so back in the time, this SQL databases were also quite, the thing you had as a backend. I mean, now you can also choose for no SQL solutions like MongoDB or also DynamoDB on AWS. And yeah, I'm currently working on a PC, so at home I prefer to have a strong PC, but for travel a laptop is good, right? So at the moment it's a PC. All right. So we have the import statement. Next thing could be read, for example. And I think this is a good next thing because we have to check for another trait now in the Rust ecospace. So we go to diesel derives. As you can see, here are many different things. And we will now add creable and selectable. So that are two different, like I think we only need selectable. Let's start with this and we will see how far we get. So what we do now is like we add selectable to our list of traits here. And maybe I should have read this. So yeah, it actually says like default naming. You can also like change the table name. We did this, but you can also change the color name. Like if you're, in our case, our variables are fitting, right? And then we have this select now on the molecules. And we will try to work with that now in the read function. So command read, and maybe what we can do here is to have a bit more parameters. So we could have an ID, which is an option of id32, I think, or we could have a formula, which is an option because we don't want this to be required. If we don't give an option, we just read all the data, okay? And then we have to adapt this here. Why isn't that showing what it needs? So we have now struct fields, so we can access this in the next to be honest, like I just see how much experience do you have in Rust. I'm working as much with Rust that I can, but I have much more experience in C, C++, because that's where I did most of my work professionally. But in the last 2 years, there were like opportunities to use Rust in projects, and I actually do this because I have a strong belief in Rust, and I think it's just the right step in the right direction, right next step. And it's hard to tell. Like I did some work with some REST APIs. I did a small project for a customer where like they use the command line interface tool in the installer, and later they also wanted to have the functionality over foreign function interfaces that allows it to be called from C code. Yeah. So I also wrote some games in Rust, like smaller games. Like, let's see, maybe this time I was, let's see, do I find it? I think I find it. GitHub. So this was, for example, a public project, like a course of like 2 game jams, to be honest. Yeah, was quite nice. So, and now we have the function signature here and can actually implement the read. And for this, I think it's diesel select. And here in the select, you can use a static function that's now on our molecule, which is select. And I think it's get results, right? This gives us a vector. Vector is good. I like vectors. Let's use the question mark here and bubble it up. Ah yeah, always this one. So I have to figure out this error message. Columns molecule ID is no valid selection for no from clause. Okay. Column's name is no valid selection for no from clause. Yeah, probably I need the variable here too. But that's not doing the trick. Let's ask on Google. Oops. It's hard to copy from these pop-ups, right? Oh. Yeah, that's an interesting part about like we're working with a lot of types here, and what maybe shortly, because what you can do here too is like having, and maybe I need an example for the select statement. And this doesn't sound like it is the right function, right? Pair select statement with new from class. I mean, what you it makes no sense. Normally you want, what we want here is select all from molecules. How should this work? Let me remember. There was that got me confused Like we have a schema, we have molecules, which is a table, right? Yeah. We have the table in the DSL. Molecules. Is there some function on it? That was what we were using before, huh? Let's see what we have here. We have all columns, for example. Ah yeah, it's molecules table and then select. Yeah, here we go. So it's molecules table dot select, I guess. Okay. Yeah, these are two paths here, right? We have also this path, and now we have to. Before we just used always molecules, I think DSL or something, and then there were like more parameters. But now we can access actually the types for the query building. Molecule as select. Loading. There we go. So we can now, we could filter, for example. We will do it later. What we do now is inner joins we will also see. I think it's execute again. Yes, we will execute it. And then load probably. Or was it load? Execute is not enough. We want load. Yeah, here we go. Execute will just execute without giving us a result. So now we have the records, and we know the records are of type vector of molecules. Okay. And yeah, I think in the solutions I have a display trait implemented, but here we won't go for it. Just will print the record. Oops, I'm mixing up syntax of different languages with a debug printout. So, and we can just read all the molecules. No, we cannot because there are still errors somewhere. First of all, we don't need this import. Then, oh, this is a more. So we need derive selectable. let's check what this does. We did creable name. Name creable was the other one, right? Creable by name. Okay, so this gives us, yeah, that's what we're doing here. We use this table name to query it. Still red though. So what it says is like we are querying the entire table, which is having columns, right? So we have here molecule ID, name, formula, density, centric factor, molar mass. So what it's saying is like it has to fit this. I think we already know that this is fitting because we could do the insert. Okay, this is how you work with Cryo. Yeah, Cryo by name is not what we want.
Sorry, I don't know that.
Well, Alexa is also confused. So here we don't have an example. Well, let's check again for the derives. So is change set is there, which sounds interesting. Identifiable is also maybe something we need. Yeah, but as change set is more like for changing. So what I think what we're missing is identifier. Do we miss that one? Now we need okay, we need to tell Diesel what is the primary key. I think we saw this in the viewer somewhere. Diesel primary key. Okay. Probably we need to do this outside. Like this way. Still some mistakes. No, it was just not updating. Anyhow, that's not changing the result. So what does the select method say? Molecular select, that should work. So this should return a struct of query error. So query error was at least the right derived macro. But why is it complaining now? Oh, to get better error message. I mean, before we get stuck here very long, I will now give a short watch to the actual solution, to be honest. Like, it is the DSL. So we're using another type than I was using. Interesting. So probably okay, that's not changing anything. Oops. So what we can do next is like, I will just check what is in models here. I actually added this. I think I saw it in the results too. And the description. Diesel check for backend. And that is the only change I see. So that's interesting. I'm now curious. Uh-huh. Oh. Oh, everything is nullable. I just realized this now. Okay. Yeah, a short look to the schema should have do the trick. Or maybe what is more important, this check for really improves the error methods, because here it already says, okay, this is nullable. So in our case, what we can do, we could just fix it that way now. Yeah, Rust is very specific on the types, and especially in the mapping too. So now the error is done. So what alternatively, or what we did different than before, I obviously fucked this one up. So what you have to add here is not null, and then it would fit the former. Anyway, I like this with not null more, so we go back again, have our error, and now we just do diesel redo. I mean, probably in a production environment you would have another migration and change the database, but we didn't put this to production, so we don't have to do this. Oh yeah, we are in the wrong folder, but now for to run migrations. So this is from our moving around. We also have to change this now. Like, I did a try run because I have the tendency to get a bit nervous when things don't go well. But I did things differently than in the try run, and that's now fucking up our folders here, but that was at least an error I could fix a bit faster than the last one. Anyway, you can learn a lot from these mistakes. So what should happen now is, like, the schema is changing, so it's not nullable text anymore, and I guess normally I'm not 100% sure if it realized that, like, the compilation, it works, but this is not updated. I know one way. I can just say to this here, okay, restart server, and then it will just do all these checks again, and we are good to go. That's sometimes needed if you have project settings. Okay, but now it should work. Cargo, run, read. Okay, it doesn't work. Ah yeah, we did the migration, so we have to import first. So we didn't see any output because of the migration. Now if we go to view edit or just replay this, it's empty. Because the migration drops the table. You remember this? Like, we have it down here, drop table, so everything is gone when we edited it. And that's why it's very important in production to, like, have follow-up migrations. Good. So what to do next is we just use import resources / molecules.csv again. Yeah, and yeah. Think I didn't give it as a command line option. No such file directory. So now it should have worked. Like, I was in the wrong directory again. And here we go. Now the read should also have some outputs. That looks good. Yeah, finally, just what is missing is, let's go for if ID is sum and formula is sum, then we will just just panic now for now. Code with both. So it's exclusive, and the nice thing about this, we can also, I think, was like arc. Okay, now have a look at clap. Clap derive. Good, outside sources are not so good for me here. It's just arc, I guess. Let's have both, and I think conflicts with equals formula, and so we, like, in this way you can use clap, which also gives you a lot of possibilities. So what's happening now is, like, if you go for cargo run help, maybe cargo run minus read minus help. Now we get this information here. Or not about the, that's interesting. Just want to try something. Yeah, now we get the information here. That's not our error message, right? That is now from the command line interface from this. And the same thing, I tested it here in the read function with the ID. So from now on, from our side, this wouldn't happen because we already have this error from the command line. Now we will just say if ID or let some ID is equal to some ID. I often miss this from the ordering. So what we say now is, okay, if ID is given, else if let some formula, and we have another else block here. And here we get rid of the semicolon. Why is it complaining? It wants the semicolon. It's because we have let records here. Okay, then we go for the semicolon and do this now. So now what we do is, like, we return a vector in this script, and we can do it for here too. Like, we can just say, okay, molecules dot filter. Now we have a predicate. We just say, okay, the element. Oh no, the predicate was a bit. Yeah, there's the Like what I did in the solutions was I had this two shortcuts here, schema molecules as mol table, which is like not the best name, but whatever. Let's call it mol schema. And this is the domain-specific language for the mol schema. And now we need the schema for building our filter. So what we want to do is like we have the ID, so we go for molecule ID equals, and we just say the other ID. And then we can say select, and yeah, now it becomes a bit repetitive, so we can actually copy this part. And we get rid of the semicolon here. Expected one argument. Okay, let's watch for the probably we have to use this one. Okay, we need the dot. Ah, come on. Now I realize we are in the wrong block. Guys! Normally you just work from top to bottom. This kind of stuff does not happen. Okay, so then we go for formula, and it should work. Yeah, we don't return anything here. That's why you should work. I think because here's a top block, it has a different return type. So sometimes you have to get used to Rust a bit to understand those things. Because what we have here is, yeah, okay. We also need to do this, and then it should work, yeah. So what you can do in Rust, which is quite neat, is like every scope can return something. Like here we return a vector of molecules, and we have, when we use this on something like that, then each block has to return the same thing, and you have then to end the block with a semicolon. And yeah, this way we now have like the possibility to read, for example, for ethanol. What is the symbol? HTO, I know at least. And there it comes. You get just this one molecule instead of everything. You can also read for an ID, which is, let's say we get the third one, which is in nitrogen in this case. Okay. Very nice. So this concludes the reading. Reading molecules from database.
Playing from RG Dev PC
Alright.
02.
So, yeah. So we have some guests from Germany, some from, I don't know. Okay, it's really nothing fancy. So someone is asking for the model of the keyboard. It's just it doesn't say anything about the model. It's one of the Cherry keyboards. It's not very fancy. Ah yeah, I found the model though. Was not on the back. But I like it. I just got like the same keyboard for every working place. So then otherwise you have problems typing. Okay. So the next thing is like now we can read, we can delete, and so on. The next thing would be like Antoine equations, and here in this Antoine CSV file, we first have a CSV with like the name of the molecule and like the boundaries in which the coefficients are valid and the 3 coefficients, because Antoine just has a 3. What we will do now is like first we will import this CSV stuff, but now we have the problem. We have to get the ID from the molecule to like do the mapping correctly. So we will start like, okay, let me shortly think to summarize it. Like we will start first with the migration. So we have to add another table, and this table will reference molecules. Then we will import the CSV file, and here, as you can see, this name, it must be converted to an ID. And normally you would work with a cache, but for here we will just use always ask the database. And we do this by implementing cool traits. We saw this into and from, which is like helping you to convert data like very, without noticing. We will use the try forms of it, because in a database scenario there can go something wrong, like it's very depending on our database connection. And yeah, if we have those, we will just implement Antoine and play around a bit. All right. So let's get things started. So we need a new migration. So I have to change in the right folder again. Migration is, I think it's generate. And we say create Antoine coef table. Here we go. So we can steal a bit here. We need an ID too, and we want to have we don't want to have a name though. So we will use an ID for the Antoine equation entries. Maybe we just call it ID this time. Then we will have a mol ID, and I have to check the syntax, but I think you have to say it's an integer and some references, something. References on molecules. We call this Antoine coefficients. I think references need to be blue, if I recall correctly. Ah yeah, maybe you just write big. So we need now the molecule, and then actually we can just let us help a bit here. We will just call it, so we don't call it name. We have a low temperature here, which is a float, and we will always use not now. So we have some parameters here: max temperature, A, B, C, and we need to get rid of the last comma, and in down we just drop this table. I'm not so sure about the semicolons there. Okay, so now we can say diesel migration run, and we get some information about mistakes. Oh, something is wrong. Maybe this way? Well, let's just check what we have in the admin front end now. Refresh, there's another table, and it has some columns. This molecule ID. So can I get some property information, definition, constraints, variables, security. So there's not too much. I'm not sure, maybe like this is, I just want to check the SQL syntax again. References, Postgres, SQL. Just give it a check. Foreign keys. Here we go. Ah, yeah, that was the thing. I had this parenthesis in mind. Because you could have several possibilities for the reference, right? So that means we can just diesel migration redo. And with this we should be fine. What we can do is like we check the auto-generated code. And now there's this ant1 coefficient as we give it. Molecule ID is null label. I don't like that, to be honest. And here we have some information for diesel about how the joins of different tables, like combining them, can work. So that's good. But now let us first also get rid of this problem with null. This should do the trick. Yeah, I like this more. Okay. Now in the model, yeah, this will be a bit of work. So we will start with a struct ant1 coefficients. Let's call it CSV. And here we have this difference with the name, right? So we have a name. And here we can go again, 1, 2, 3. And what we need here is like we need some of these derives, but not so many, because we just want to now be able to deserialize this from the CSV. And yeah, as I told you, normally you can go for debug clone and default. Let's put it here. And then we want to have a target, right? Or let's say the actual ant1 coefficients that are like insertable in the table. Maybe we call them diesel. Like at the moment we just have a one-to-one mapping. Here we go in the direction of ID I32. And as you can see, like we are not, when we just get the ant1 coefficients, we are not interested into the name, for example. Like we don't get the ID of the molecule with this query here. So nonetheless, I will copy this here. And just to come back to this, we want to query this, but we don't want to use it for insertion. For example, query by name. I don't think we need this. Yeah, probably we have to define the primary key. Like we will get this because we can also get better error reporting by that. And the primary key is ID. So probably this time we don't need this. And the table name is ant1 coef. I did use an underscore, yeah, okay. So we are good. We did say everything, and now just check my bold statement. It is not needed because ID is a default name. And yeah, what you could do is like have a insert there, like another data structure. But that makes more sense if you combine different queries, like we do this now here. Just for this we need to we can use this data structure to have a let's first think about what are the queries. We want to have ant1 coefficient for one molecule in a specific temperature, right? So that's our goal now at the end, like when we want to query this thing. So we want to ask like ethanol at, let's say 78. And then when we look here, oh, we have actually two data sets here at this region. So we would get two data sets. Okay, but first things first, we will fill this struct, and then we have to convert into this struct. So we will now add another data type, enum, CSV formats. We just start with a molecule and let's call it ant1. We have some derived macros, which is like debug clone default in this case. And because default, you have to define it for this here. Like now we have in default the molecule. Okay. Now we can maybe add some parameters here, like parsBuf, like CSV parsBuf. I was expecting to have this, to be honest. And format is just CSV formats. And yeah, just use arguments. I like this more. Or should we? Like if you don't use it, you just have it to give it in the right in the right order. So you don't give like minus p, but you just write it and the next argument is in this. And we now get this error because for an enum supported by clap, you need a trait. There it was. There it is, value enum. So often you find what you need to add in the error messages, but not always. So here we are. We overworked import. That's good. So now we will also add this new parameter here. Just calling it, maybe at this point, format CSV formats. Okay. So we have to create the reader, and then we will have a match arm here for the formats. Just say format matching something, and for the molecule we already have the code. I'm actually not sure. Do we? We could put this in a noun method, I guess. Insert into target T. Yes, but let us now not bother with this. So we just assume again we have some records here, and this time it's unterm coefficient CSV. Collect this. And now we have the problem we cannot insert, because to insert we need the ID, right? And maybe just for checking stuff, for record and records, we can just print it at the moment. This double colon or question mark, by the way, uses a debug trait, like this thing here, for displaying. And so record, here we go. Now we should be able to, I can call task run task and import. Let's see what happens. It was we didn't update all the parts of the code. We are missing this one here. So now we get the CSV pass from the command line, and I think I can try to give it here a default T or something. Why is it still green though? I think it's just an update. So default value. Is it just default value? Yeah. So that's convenient, right? We have our old behavior if we don't give something. So that should work. What do we need here? We need the format. Yeah. Now when I say run task CLI import, I think, yeah. So we have one command line arguments, and I used like, you can have configuration files for running this stuff. And this is import, yeah. And we can just get rid of those here. So now we just call import. Now it should work. I'm just showing you several methods how you can use this. Okay. I will call cargo help now. So now it should work. I think because this derive is arg, it's not a positional. I didn't work with a positional, but I'm not 100% sure. Still failed to run. Ah yeah, format is not given. Makes sense to give this a default value too, right? I was hoping on just implementing the default traits there would be enough. Whatever, I want to know continue with the unrun thing, such that we get this done. Where was the import here? So let's see resources molecules. Let's say we go for unrun CSV and oops, there's a comma missing. Was I maybe using string here? I just added some code here because of some... That's strange. I'm not 100% sure how this line ended up there, but that was in the end the error, right? Oh yeah, we need to use small a here. And now we should finally ready to go. No. What do I do? Ah. Okay, finally. So we come to the maybe bit more advanced part regarding Rust. So what we want to do now is we want to implement a trait called try from. I will open the documentation, try from Rust, and what it is doing is like it is a conversion method. Like in the end you just implement those traits and then you can use try into or try from just on any data type and convert this in the right type, because internally, because it's a statically typed language, Rust can then figure out which version of try from to use. And yeah, we will now use this to come from this unturned coefficients to this one here with ID and be able to insert it. So maybe just go for the small ID 2. Then we have to use skip insert here too. We don't need Zerder here because we're not using Zerder, which is for the CSV files. Okay. So what we do now is we implement try from on the type. So we want to get it from unturned coefficient CSV and into unturned coefficients, right? So, oops. So now I just want to use implement missing methods, to be honest. That is a helper from the IDE. And we will just go for std.io error here, because the error that may occur is related to I/O in case of the database, right? And yeah, we will actually need a wrapper. So what we do now is like we start with some generic code. We have a trait. Let's call it connection aware or something. Names are not so easy, right? And in this trait we have data, which is capsuled by T, or we also have a connection, which is in fact a mutable reference. We also need a lifetime here to the PG connection. So what is the problem? I think we have to where T double point sized. Yeah. Why is it calling lifetime is never used? I'm using it here. Okay, let's get this one isolated. That's not too bad. Oh, come on. T is never used. Okay, that's true. What the fuck? Okay. Ah, yeah. Should read the error messages, right? That happens if you have so many languages with different error messages or syntax, like using semicolon or comma. So this is just a wrapper, and we actually will use this wrapper here because we want to get this thing. We also have to define the lifetime now. Okay. So now what we can do is like we have here some connection awareness, so we have access to the connection, and all this new syntax, it's generic. Like this is a lifetime parameter that helps the Rust compiler to determine how long this reference will live, and it does this with a generic type parameter system internally. And using /a is what is like the recommended way. And here we now can access like the data. First I need the schema here too. Oh, we already have this. Okay. So we will give just a 0 here because we're generating this for insertion, right? So it will be skipped nonetheless. We want to figure out the molecule ID, and this is just Plain old copying. Probably there are some crates that makes stuff like this easier. But it's not too much of a hassle. Fact about this to do here, it's very helpful because it's a macro. It gets rid of like compile errors, but if you run this code, it will just crash here with a panic if you get at this point at the code. Okay. And now we can use the, I think it's the mol schema or mol DSL molecules. And then we can use filter. And we just want to have like the same name, right? I always being confused here. So it's name equals to, and then we have value data Name. We want to shortly have to check how the select worked again. So we can here use molecule as select, but yeah, let's do this first. I'm a bit confused that so it is load, right? That my auto connection, my autocomplete was not working there yet, but I don't get an error here. So we probably need a question mark and then let res. Oh, it's complaining. So it's some strange type. Okay. Don't make things too complicated here. We will just use a box with a dynamic error. This is not known. I think it's from the same file, so it should be known. Okay, shortly checking again. It's molecule DSL. Oh. Oh, come on. Where is it? 12, 12? Yeah, that's... Sometimes it's good to call cargo build and just go for the error messages. And this should work now. Okay. Unknown field, so I'm pretty sure this should be a vector of molecules. Why is this now on? Oh yeah, this is a vector. That's the thing. Res lang is not equal to 1. We have some kind of error, right? So we can just say error box new, then we go for .io error. I think we need a... No, there's an error kind, right? I'm confused. Error is a new operator. Okay, then we have an error kind. So there are many. I will just say invalid data here. And unambiguous. Okay. So this is how you can like return an error in between, just over the result type. And now we will just access the first element into iter and first where's first? There's end. So we're pretty sure now that there's at least one element, or exactly one. And so we can go this way. Found molecule, yeah, that's true. So now we can have the idea. Molecule ID, there it is. Okay, and here we need a return. So this is doing the inline conversion now using the database. Like in production software, you would like to have a cache because you don't want to query all the time. Anyway, so now we can continue here and just have a new record, which is we go over our records again into iterator. We will map our element. The EL is now this here. We should try into, and then we call collect, which says I will get now all the elements, and it's now yeah, not 100% sure what it has to use here, so we will just go to run coefficients here. Sometimes you need to call the types. Oh, it's not imported. That's oh, here we have a result still. So we will now just do expect here. Expect is like crash error handling. It crashes with an error method. So otherwise error handling is important, but it requires a lot of code. And I think it's not too much of more knowledge in that. So now, error in CSV, let's call it that way. Try from and run coefficient CSV is not satisfied. Into try from. I think there's some missing in the use. No, it was not that. So the funny part is it says it's required to implement try from and run coefficients. Ah, the other way around, it means, right? Ah, we have this wrapper type not set up yet. So we do this next. Like we have no information about the connection yet. Sorry for this. And we will just do this as a public function new with con, and there we give it the data and the connection. What is it telling me? Res.id? I think I was scrolling too much, huh? Oh, that's good. Was still showing an old error. Is there a public missing? Yes. And here is a connection missing. Okay. Here we go. Okay, now we have a bit of problems with the errors, like with type conversions. I probably assume it's because we have like this connection aware and moving the vectors out already in here. Like we're doing both steps in one. I think it's complaining about that. No, it's complaining about that here. Here we moved out the memory. Like after the loop, it was not clear that records is still valid because it could have been moved. It didn't happen here, but the compiler could not know. Okay. Now we have that, and we're free to use the insert into statement. That was on Antoine DSL. What was the name of this? Ah, it's not defined in this file yet. I think I just added it here. Ah yeah, insertable is not satisfied, why not? Didn't I edit it later on? No, I didn't. Now we need a question mark here. Okay. Somehow the response times are a bit long. Oh, so they were already 3 hours. Nice. I think we will wrap up. It's least the insertion. It's a bit sad, but I think we will have maybe a smaller stream following up with getting the Antoine coefficients out and doing some, just calling the function. Actually not. So we want now to have a cargo run minus import minus, what was it, f Antoine. Okay, file not found. We are again in the wrong directory, probably. Error, missing field load temp. Okay. Load temp. Isn't it min temp? Okay. Let's call this min temp maybe. isn't it? Ah, it's called low temp here too. I think it was called min temp somewhere. Maybe in this. Here's also low temp. So when it's already called everywhere low temp, maybe it's easier to find the min temp now. So this panicked here. Low temp, max temp, unrun coefficient, low temp, max temp. Line 2, record 1, byte 115. So it is related to this here. Oh yeah, we didn't set up the debugger yet. Okay. So we do printf debugging now. So panic occurs here. Error format error, right? Name, low temp, max temp, ABC. Isn't that the same as used in the CSV field? Name, low temp, max temp, ABC. Field none, kind. Oh, it's cut here, right? Yeah, kind message, missing field. Okay, let's just see what we got here. Nah, that's not working because we already used it here and moved it. Unexpected too? Why? I don't get it. Should be the same, right? Okay. Okay, that just says error. Probably CSV error. Unexpected semicolon. I somehow have the feeling that this Rust analyzer is a bit broken at the moment. We need right. Something is broken with the Rust analyzer. Okay, this is not a lot. Okay, we can accept this. Don't need this string here. Then this is working again. Aha, there's one missing. Okay, finally. Oops. Maybe it makes it easier to read when we use a match before, right? Oh, now it's even not. In records, it enumerate. That's what I want to do. That's okay. And we are missing the exclamation marks. Fault. Good. So do cargo run now. Missing field log temp. Don't get it. Maybe because there's a new line at the end? No, it were several error messages. Row 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So every time the same error. Missing field load temp. What the fuck? Low temperature, max temperature. A, B, C. Don't see the mistake. Byte 175. Name, load temp, max temp, ABC. So even the, and I think this is important, the same order. What the fuck? And I actually thought we did check this before we did the conversion stuff. So I feel a bit blind now. Low temp, max temp, ABC. Like this is exactly what is written here. Missing field low temp. How? That's interesting. Maybe there's a type mismatch. It's just an F 64. I mean, importing the molecules is working. Okay, molecule. I did something. I mean, we're not even getting in the direction of converting this type. Oh, come on. It's using the wrong file. That's the easy explanation. Okay, sometimes you just have, yeah, that's good. So what's happening now is like we get the right file. Command line parameters are tricky, aren't they? And I think I need a pause. So it's already 3 hours and 20 minutes in, so we will now wrap up, I think, because what we're seeing here, the rows are readed, but they're not imported yet. So to import them, oops, we need to get rid of the previous instruction. Like here, when you go on this one and all rows, it's still empty. And that's the case because here, from the deserialize, we get just an iterator. Like we created a reader, then we get the deserialize iterator, and we did go through it completely and just did some outputs. And when we get the iterator again here, it's at the end. And it just says empty, so the record here is empty and so on. So what we need to do here is to get rid of the error output, and now it should work. Okay. Now we get a new error at least. So we have an error in the try from, and probably it's related to the length. Let's just say we have records. It just gives the length here, so we can have a bit more information. Okay, and we need to use a macro for the formattation here. Probably then return this as string. Okay. Oh, 2 records. I tested the molecule. It's like, yeah. So what happens here is like I tested if it's still working with molecules because I was really confused when we were actually reading the wrong file. What was the mistake, right? And now, because I tested this with molecules, the import, we have every molecule double, and that is, yeah, adding, how can we know which one to use? So what I will do now is I will just use the delete all. Then we will use import molecules. Then we will check if this is now looking good. Then we import the AND1 equation stuff, and that looks good. So we have some edge cases here, like it's not like we did put so much effort in error handling, and so we can end up with states that are not so nice. So what did I do here? Query, view edit data, or rows. So we don't have rows there yet. Okay, let me check the code again. So this is working now. We get the output from the main. Oops. So we collect it here. So we have the ant1 coefficient CSV. We now convert them. And then we run insert into. This should actually do the trick. Let's add some information in between. Converted records. Okay, 4 records are converted. So then I don't get it. Why isn't it showing view edit data or rows? Query history. Maybe I have to use refresh here. View edit data or rows. No. What's the molecules? It's working or what? What is puzzling me is like we didn't saw this on the coefficients, like the query here. I mean, I can write an own query. The specified object could not be found. Okay. So what does this mean now? That something is out of... Yeah. Okay, we added it 2 times. Yeah, this with the refresh in the PGAdmin is a bit strange. Sometimes you have to go really high in the hierarchy and do the refresh. Otherwise you don't have the right picture. Okay, so we have the ant1 coefficients in. And now we can just do a wrap up. Commit, import ant1. And actually
from RG dev PC02.
What we'll do the next time is like select the ant1 from, yeah, and calculate it. I mean, I have the feeling this should get fast, but I also had this feeling half an hour ago when I wanted to wrap things up. So I would say that long enough. Not everybody has this, yeah. Let's say ideas for spending the weekend, but it was fun. I hope next time we get stuck less, but probably this will always happen when you're on a live stream, because when I record, I can just throw this clip away and do it then when I figured out what was the problem. And the problem was really funny, right? So I can imagine if you watch this, maybe it's kind of funny. Maybe it's also hard then for you to figure stuff out. So what would have helped? It's maybe a good question. Thank you. Thank you for awesome stream. Like what would have helped maybe is like putting a bit more information with prints, just have some debug prints out. Because when we would have like just write this method in a way saying println format or the CSV import from. I mean, it's not so much work, and just get the path to string here. We would probably not spend the last 20 minutes of the stream figuring out what's happening here. Okay, error expected in semicolon. That looks... it's probably S string or something. We can just go string from pass. It's also not working. Let's go for a debug representation then. Oh, borrow moved value of pass. There's a problem. We moved path in here. It wasn't usable anymore. And now when we just use this one, we would get at least somewhere here CSV import from, and yeah, that would be helpful. Anyway, I hope you have fun and see you next time. Bye.